Get ready to witness one of the most shocking confrontations in Washington's history. Hillary Clinton, polished and confident, believed she could outsmart Elon Musk, the eccentric billionaire behind rockets, satellites, and electric cars. But instead of a nervous outsider, she was walking into a constitutional ambush that would shake her legacy. The media thought they knew the outcome. CNN teased headlines like, "Clinton schools Musk," while Twitter buzzed with near-Clinton crushes. Clinton entered the chamber like a star on the red carpet. Impeccable suit, calm posture, decades of political victories behind her. Musk, on the other hand, looked almost out of place. A slightly rumpled suit, a scuffed leather folder in hand. The Washington elite smirked, convinced the tech mogul was out of his depth. Then Clinton fired the first shot. "Mr. Musk," she said, her tone dripping with condescension, "perhaps you should stick to rockets and cars and leave matters of national security to those who actually understand them." Gasps rippled through the chamber. Reporters scribbled furiously, sensing an easy victory for Clinton. But Musk only smiled, a slow, knowing grin. "You're probably right," he said softly. "I just build little projects, SpaceX, Tesla, Starlink. Maybe you've heard of them. And I may not know Washington politics, but I do know how fragile our systems are when information is mishandled. Because I build the technology that protects them." He placed his folder on the table, opening it with a deliberate snap. Documents bearing the seals of the FBI and State Department filled the screens for everyone to see. Musk leaned in, his voice calm but sharp enough to cut through the room's tension. "So, Mrs. Clinton, I checked your homework." The chamber froze. The trap was set, and Hillary Clinton had walked straight into it. The Senate hearing room fell into a tense silence after Elon Musk's quiet but devastating words. "I checked your homework." Reporters leaned forward, cameras zoomed in, and even Clinton's legal team shifted uneasily. What Musk pulled from his scuffed folder wasn't just paper. It was a time bomb. "Mrs. Clinton," Musk began, his voice calm but steady, "you served as Secretary of State from 2009 to 2013, didn't you? That's one of the most important jobs in America, safeguarding our nation's most sensitive secrets." Clinton straightened her posture. "Yes, Mr. Musk," she replied, her tone controlled. "I took that responsibility very seriously." Musk nodded slowly, then glanced at the monitors as they lit up with a timeline of emails. "I'm sure you did. But there's something I find puzzling. You chose to use a private server for official government business. Not just for personal notes, but for classified communications. Some of the most sensitive information this country has." The timeline appeared damning. Dates, times, and messages stamped with classification. Levels that never should have left secure government systems. "I'm no politician," Musk continued, his voice calm but edged with steel. "But I design satellites. I design encryption systems. I build Starlink, which keeps countries online during wars. And I know one thing. When you use an unsecured server, it's like leaving the vault door wide open. Any kid with a laptop and enough curiosity could break in." The chamber stirred. Clinton's lawyers leaned in, whispering frantic notes. Clinton's face stayed composed, but her grip on the table tightened. "Let's go further," Musk said, pulling out another document. "Here's the FBI's own report. They found over 100 emails containing classified information on your private server. Some were marked top secret. That's the kind of intel that can get American lives endangered if it falls into the wrong hands." The monitors displayed a redacted email, black bars covering much of the text, but enough left to reveal sensitive details about a counterterrorism operation. "One of these emails," Musk continued, "contained active intelligence about operations in hostile territory. It was sent from your server, Mrs. Clinton, to an unsecured recipient. That's not just careless. That's what we call a national security risk." Clinton raised her chin. "As I've said before, those emails were not marked classified at the time. My server was secure, and I followed the protocols." Musk leaned forward, his blue-gray eyes locking on hers. "Let's check the homework on that." Another memo flashed across the screens, signed during Clinton's own tenure. It outlined strict rules for handling classified information. Every line was clear. All communications must go through secure government systems. No exceptions. Now, Mrs. Clinton, Musk said quietly, either you didn't read your own rules, or you thought they didn't apply to you. Which is it, ignorance or arrogance? The chamber erupted in murmurs. Reporters typed furiously. Clinton's expression didn't break. But for the first time, her eyes flickered. Musk's trap was tightening. And here's the consequence, he added, holding up another report. This one from the Department of Defense. This isn't just about emails sitting in a basement server. It's about what happened when those emails leaked. Intelligence sources compromised. Operations shut down. Agents pulled out of foreign countries in the dead of night. Some barely making it out alive. The room went still. This wasn't a tech mogul rambling about innovation. This was Elon Musk, dismantling decades of political armor with facts and evidence. He closed the folder slowly, then looked directly at Clinton. His voice dropped into a tone that carried across the chamber, like a judge delivering a sentence. When the Secretary of State puts convenience above security, and that choice puts American lives at risk, that's not just a mistake. That's a betrayal. The silence was deafening. The hearing had shifted. Musk was no longer the outsider. He was in complete control. The chamber buzzed with a nervous energy. Clinton's legal team whispered furiously. Reporters' fingers clattered against keyboards, and social media exploded with hashtags like #Musk exposes. But Elon Musk didn't rush. He leaned back slightly, as if savoring the silence, before reaching into his folder again. Now, Mrs. Clinton, he said, his tone deceptively casual. We've talked about servers, emails, and the risks they created, but let's check the financial homework, too, because sometimes the numbers tell. A story louder than words. The monitors flickered once more, this time displaying charts, donation records, and financial disclosures. The room stirred as lines of data scrolled across the giant screens. See, I may just be the guy who builds rockets, Musk continued, but I also read balance sheets. I know when money is moving in directions that don't make sense. And during your time as Secretary of State, your family foundation wasn't just getting donations. It was getting donations from some very interesting people. The first chart appeared. Millions flowing into the Clinton Foundation from foreign governments, multinational corporations, and powerful businessmen. Musk pointed to a bar rising sharply on the graph. $10 million from a foreign government landed in your foundation's account in 2010. And wouldn't you know it, just weeks later, that same government got a shiny new trade deal approved by your department. Now, I've built enough companies to know what that looks like. It doesn't smell like charity. It smells like pay-to-play. The gallery gasped. Reporters craned their necks to read the figures. Clinton shifted in her seat, her smile tight but unbroken. And it wasn't just one case, Musk pressed on, flipping to the next page. My team counted 14 separate times, where large donations to your foundation lined up perfectly, with favorable policy moves from the State Department. 14 times. That's not coincidence. That's a business model. A new timeline filled the monitors, each donation connected to a diplomatic decision. The pattern was undeniable. Clinton finally spoke, her voice measured. Mr. Musk, the Clinton Foundation is a transparent charitable organization. Those donations were reported. There's no evidence of improper influence. Musk raised an eyebrow, his reply sharp but calm. Transparent? Let's check. He held up another document. This one stamped with the State Department's Ethics Office seal. This report shows that your foundation failed to disclose over 900 foreign donations while you were Secretary of State. 900. That's not transparency, Mrs. Clinton. That's concealment. The monitors scrolled through an endless list of undisclosed contributions. The room buzzed louder, reporters nearly tripping over each other to push the story live. Now, either you didn't know what was happening in your own foundation, Musk continued, his voice tightening, or you knew and chose to hide it. Which is it? The question hung in the air like a blade. Clinton's silence was telling, But Musk wasn't finished. He stepped closer to the microphone, his tone now sharper. And let's not forget the speaking fees. Between 2009 and 2013, you and your husband earned over $25 million in speeches, many of them paid by companies and foreign entities with business before your department. One bank paid you $400,000 for a speech, and 3 weeks later, they got a State Department contract. I've closed a lot of deals in my life, but I've never seen one run smoother than that. A ripple of unease spread through the chamber. The numbers were clear, the connections undeniable. Musk straightened, his eyes fixed on Clinton. Public service isn't supposed to be a family business. It's not supposed to be a monopoly game where the pieces move for your profit. But the evidence suggests that's exactly what it became under your watch. The silence that followed was suffocating. Clinton's once unshakable aura now looked brittle, her defenses cracking under the relentless weight of Musk's words. The billionaire inventor had just redefined the battlefield, and the hearing was no longer about defending Hillary Clinton's legacy. It was about survival. The Senate chamber was no longer just a hearing. It had become an arena. Clinton's supporters shifted uncomfortably. Her legal team scribbled frantic notes. But the energy in the room had turned. For the first time in decades, Hillary Clinton looked cornered. Elon Musk, the so-called outsider, was dictating the pace. Musk didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His calm, deliberate words carried more weight than the loudest accusations. He leaned forward, his hands resting lightly on the battered folder. We've talked about classified information. We've looked at the finances. But there's something even more dangerous than money or secrets. He paused, letting the silence grow heavy. Reporters leaned in. Clinton's jaw tightened. It's control of speech, Musk said finally. Because when you control what people can say, you control what they can know. And when you control what they can know, you control democracy itself. The monitors flickered alive once more. This time, not with bank transfers or email timelines, but with screenshots of communications, emails, memos, subpoenaed exchanges between Clinton's team and executives at major media and tech platforms. See, I build communication systems, Musk continued. Starlink beams free internet to people under dictatorships. I know what censorship looks like. And the documents in this folder show that, Mrs. Clinton, you didn't just influence media, you weaponized it. The first email appeared on the screen. A Clinton aide requesting a major network downplay a damaging story. The second, correspondence with a social media giant asking for certain political posts to have reduced visibility. The room erupted. Gasps echoed. Reporters typed furiously. And social media feeds lit up in real time. Clinton's composure cracked just slightly, her lips tightening as the evidence scrolled. You didn't pass a law to silence people, Musk said, his tone sharp as a blade. You didn't have to. You leaned on your friends in tech and media to do it for you. 32 separate times in 2 years. Your team contacted platforms to bury stories or restrict accounts. 32 times. That's not protecting democracy. That's strangling it. Another chart appeared, a timeline linking Clinton's requests to sudden drops in visibility for news, outlets, and independent journalists. One graph showed traffic collapsing by 70%. Overnight after her team's email, Clinton finally broke her silence. Mr. Musk, those were efforts to combat misinformation, falsehoods that endangered democracy. Musk's reply was swift. He held up a report from an independent watchdog group. Misinformation? Let's check. This study shows the posts you targeted weren't false. They were legitimate debate, opinions, investigations backed by documents. Real Americans exercising their First Amendment rights. He turned back toward the senators, his voice now carrying a force that filled the chamber. When a Secretary of State pressures private companies to silence dissent, that's not service. That's tyranny by proxy. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. The chamber was dead quiet, the weight of history pressing on everyone present. Musk slowly pulled his pocket constitution from the folder. The edges worn, pages marked. He flipped it open and held it up. The First Amendment says Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or the press. But Mrs. Clinton found a way around it. She didn't need a law. She just needed leverage. And she used it. He set the book on the table with a soft thud, the sound echoing like a gavel. This isn't about me. It isn't about you. It's about the American people and their right to speak freely without fear of being silenced by those in power. Clinton sat frozen, her once unyielding image now cracking under the relentless assault. Reporters knew they were watching not just a hearing, but the unmasking of an era. Elon Musk had turned the chamber into a courtroom, and the verdict was forming in the minds of everyone watching. The Senate chamber sat in heavy silence. Every eye was fixed on Elon Musk, who now stood calmly, his hand resting on the battered folder that had turned Washington's script upside down. Clinton's team was out of moves, her polished defenses shattered by facts no one in the room could deny. Musk reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, worn copy of the Constitution. He held it up so the cameras could see. "This," he said, his voice firm but steady, "isn't just paper. It's the foundation of our country. Public service is not about profit. It's not about influence. And it sure isn't about silencing the people you swore to serve. It's about responsibility, duty, trust." The words echoed in the chamber like a final verdict. The monitors behind him flashed images one last time: 22 breaches of security, 14 pay-to-play deals, 32 censorship requests, a staggering record of broken promises. Musk's tone grew sharper. When lives are endangered by carelessness, when millions of dollars flow in exchange for favors, when free speech itself is strangled to protect an image, those aren't mistakes. Those are choices, choices that betray the people of this nation. He set the Constitution gently on the table, the thud resonating like a gavel striking. "No one," he said, eyes locked on Clinton, "is above the law. Not even you." The gallery erupted, reporters rushing to push breaking headlines, the audience buzzing as if history itself had just shifted. On social media, Musk wins trended worldwide within minutes. Hillary Clinton remained motionless. Her once unshakable aura was gone, replaced by the silence of a career cornered. She had entered the hearing certain of victory, but Elon Musk, the outsider mocked as unfit for politics, had dismantled her legacy with nothing but evidence, logic, and a scuffed leather folder full of truth. The trap had been set, the case delivered, and the nation knew it had just witnessed a reckoning.